Colleagues, let's start. Let's proceed with our meeting. Chair, with your permission. Colleagues, I formulated the following with the previous ones. So the next one would be number 6, would be the board request the EXCO to investigate cheaper options for printing the AET locally in Africa. That was the issue that Maggie raised. In terms of the cost, we haven't received the cost from Langham yet on the Portuguese translation and either not on the French translation. But I think it should come down now because we are really moving some volumes. The book is also available in South Africa at 260 rands at CLF printers. So it's here. I think CLF prints it locally. They've got the right to print it locally. But if you leave that with the EXCO, maybe we can do some report on that. Then number 6, the board will commit itself to 1, the promotion of and cooperation with Agenda 2063, with the focus on the goals set for the next 10 years. That was the issue that Money Rush used to us. 2, encourages institutions to engage their communities via short learning programs, seminars, webinars, public lectures, etc. as ways to engage on Agenda 2063. And then I've added another one to task, and then there's a blank here, someone to track the progress and report annually to the EXCO. I think it's important, colleagues, that we need to maybe task one of our colleagues or one or an institution that can really keep tabs for us on this and sort of be the source, the hub that gives us information in terms of the progress of Agenda 2063. We can take all these decisions, but if nobody is really, taking responsibility for it, and we will talk about the office capacity tomorrow. We cannot do it in the office. The office, we do not have the capacity. I will explain tomorrow what the office capacity problems are at the moment. So it's no use to say we need office in the office. We can't do it. It's impossible. So colleagues need to take responsibility. That's a network. We contribute, we help one another. So we need to put someone, a name or someone in there to track the progress and report for us on this. We are open to suggestions.
I think we can add another one, because what I've said to the executive director is that these resolutions we are taking, we are going to package them with a letter to the AU to show that yes, this is the decision we have taken at the AGM. So let's put that as part of our decision. That copies of the books will be presented to them so that they see it as part of the minutes. Yes. Because we have people online. By the way, those of you online, thank you again for coming back. This is really a demonstration of commitment, because we know you are spending money for data for that, to do this. We appreciate it.
Probably this is, I would just say to the office that we have a printing press in Mauritius that we will find information for the printing of the book and see if how it can, if it can work. I believe it will be reasonable. I recently gave them some quotations for the work that I'm doing on the Sesotho hymns, and I thought it was reasonable. The prices were reasonable, so we can do that and see how it works.
Just regarding the the printing costs, I think perhaps the easiest way to go would be to investigate the possibility of getting the e-publication available, and for NetACT institutions and students to perhaps negotiate a special price with Langham for the English for an e-publication, because then you don't have printing costs, you don't have shipping costs, and all of that. So I think that would be the easiest way to go. However, we would have to speak to them about how we are going to guard the copyright, in the sense that, you know, they have to get paid for the book, but we can probably also then negotiate a special price for our institutions, and perhaps via the NIP, you know, send out the word, you know, this is the link that you can follow, whatever, to Langham, and ask them, you know, for the electronic copy. Just regarding the agenda 2063, I don't think it would be so much work to follow up on, you know, how have you in the past, you know, year, how have you been using the African Public Theology handbook? How have you, in your activities, in your lectures, in your conferences, or whatever, in your publications, how have you addressed one of these 7 points that we've now identified in the agenda? The thing is, I mean, you can very easily compile a questionnaire and send it out. That's not a problem, and Hannes can send it all out. And I mean, I can compile that questionnaire. Hannes can send it out, and he can just forward it back. You know, everything that he. The thing is, we don't get responses on that. Even, you know, and we cannot follow up, even if you did not do anything that is related to those aspirations. You know, just let us know. Then we know it's not relevant to your context or whatever. But the main thing is, and we've seen it time and time again, we've got a group of members that respond, I almost want to say religiously, to every questionnaire that we send out, and from some we never hear. You know, so we need the commitment from our institutions that someone will complete that questionnaire for us.
So, Chair, just something to that. Just through the Chair, as much as yes, we appreciate going the e-book way, but we have to also remember there are some of our institutions that actually who does not even have access to the e. So yes, the e-way would help most of the urban centers, but I think in the rural schools that we have, some of them will still need the hard copy. So probably we could go the conversation of the people who can afford the e-way and then people who will still need the hard copy.
Okay, what I'm thinking is that we can work with Langham again, because if Langham takes that responsibility, we'll not have to worry about paying. Langham can work with, if you find the information, let us know. We'll share that information with Langham and talk with Langham to see how Langham can allow us to publish it in Africa. The other thing that I wanted to say about Agenda 2063, SAST has given scholarship for a PhD in that area. For somebody that will write on Agenda 2063. So we can do that in our institute. We can say to a student, why not take this and think of writing a presentation or a thesis on this? So I think that is another way that we can get this going.
You went offline. Nope.
Yes.
The person went off.
Okay.
So there's no
Chair,
online,
currently
just for
all our
recording.
online
So just
left or
remind
fell
us
off.
for
But when we
recording's
continue, we will admit them again.
Mm.
Maybe they went for dinner. Okay, let's go to the next. But thank you.
The last one, the resolution and in its entirety, together with copies of the APT, will be presented to the AU.
Thank you very much. We can move to the next. Page 8 and 9. Theology and development. I think we would like to ask to cover that. Theology and development report.
For recording's sake.
I thought I saw some online.
Yeah.
Okay. Colleagues, you will remember that one of our first, if not the first research project that we had was the one on HIV and AIDS, where we published that book, The Church as AIDS. Then we moved to the theme of gender inequality and gender justice. We published Men in the Pulpit, Women in the Pew, and Living with Dignity. That was the big one, the thick one that we published, where we had all the women theologians in the network contributing to that. Both of those we got funding to publish a book. Then we moved on to our next research theme, and that was then development, theology and development. We spoke about that in Lemuru at an AGM. That was our conference that we had. We had some papers that were delivered at that conference. We had two experts there that guided that gave introductory plenary papers, and that guided the whole discourse there. We asked for people to submit their papers for publication afterwards. We got a very, very low response to that. So we didn't actually have enough papers to publish a book, right? And some of the papers that we got needed a lot of editing done to it. So the issue was then, unlike with the other publications, unlike for instance with the Living with Dignity, the one on gender justice and equality, we had a lot of papers and we had really good papers to work with. The same with public theology, African public theology. A lot of papers, a lot of contributions, an excellent editor from Langham who helped with that. We didn't have that with the one on with the project on theology and development. Also, the two experts that we asked to guide us in that, they were too busy to edit the book. So in the end, it stalled and it stalled. We did get, as I say, we did get some papers in, not enough for a book. We then decided to perhaps publish it in our online journal as just a collection of papers. But we still didn't have someone to edit it, especially we can have it language edited, but we didn't have someone to content edit it. And that was, as I explained also to the executive, that is one of the problems with having a research theme that is discipline specific. If you work on HIV and AIDS, or you work on gender justice and gender equality, you can say something about that from any disciplinary perspective. You can make a contribution, but something like theology and development is a specialization. So you do need people that specialize in that subject, and your editors have to be subject specialists as well. So in that sense, it was a wonderful conference, and we had some very interesting discussions and everything, but the publication never really got off the ground. That is also, I think, something that we should remember in future when we decide on a research, because we've now seen, when we decide on a research topic, let it be something like African public theology, again, you know, something that you can write on from discipline, different disciplinary perspectives, rather than having doing a conference or writing a book from one discipline, specific discipline that needs expertise in only that one, because it also limits the contributions that can be made from the rest of the network.
Thank you very much. Any question?
Chair, the question to the board is also, if anybody see themselves fit or have maybe in their faculty, among the faculty members, someone that willing to take the project again, do something with it, the institutions are welcome. It's not can, there are some work, but it's not, we can assist where we can, but we cannot take it on there. But if someone is still willing and they feel they would like to do it, it can be done.
I think that there was this professor from St. Paul who did a presentation, and this is his area of research. Can we approach him?
That's Bundi. Yes. Yeah. That's Bundi.
We will probably be able to get some funding as well for such a publication, even if in the end we just bring out a special edition of our online journal with those papers in it.
Yeah, but just to note that he has moved into administration. He's now the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Chair of Academics, so that might be an addition. Yeah, but also I saw the person who took over from SAST, Conradi, from Tier Fund. He's also a specialist in that area. He was Nadine's student, Barnabe. Barnabe. He was supposed to be here. I think something happened. Yeah, to represent. Yeah, so I think also someone we could approach in line with that with Tiafan to say, yeah,
the language we can perhaps there's a very good possibility.
Yoms. Sorry. Yeah.
Colleagues, on the minutes, we're doing minutes. What is the decision?
We'll approach people in the area to see if they can take it on. Particularly those who are here at the beginning. Okay.
I think my question is, because this is my first time representing the Faculty of Theology in this gathering, is this project specifically focused on NetACT members only, or can this be by invitation of international scholars that who can also contribute to this project? Because if it is so, then of course we can have a greater reach with our faculty, international scholars to contribute to this. So I'm just asking the question, you need to help us to sort this, whether it's just for NetACT or can it be expanded to outside NetACT?
I think even the public theology book was not written solely by NetACT members. We extended it, it was an African project. So this is also an African project. I would say that it can be done by anybody in Africa. In Africa, not outside Africa.
But the same with the gender, also people outside of the network that are strong voices on the theme to contribute, even though the institutions weren't members of NetACT, as long as they write from an African perspective, all good.
Yes. Yeah. The aim of NetACT books, maybe Chair, just to remind colleagues, we usually aim to produce something that can be used as a textbook. So it's not just a purely academic, you know, hard academic. It always have to have that textbook component as well, because it needs to be it needs to be accessible to the students to change Africa. So you can compile quickly a lot of papers together. I think that's not maybe difficult to do, but to get that into like a textbook, because that was the whole purpose with the African Public Theology. You can use it as a textbook. I mean, the institutions reported back that you are using it as a textbook because there's questions at the end. So it's a little bit of a different angle to it as a pure academic hardcore writing. Maybe I'm rephrasing it wrongly, but
yes, and we also try to give a scope to established writers and established scholars, and also to younger scholars. So every time we try to get a balance between the two, because the NetACT publications are often for some people their first published works. So it's also an empowerment thing.
Yeah.
I also think from, especially I can speak from our faculty at the University of Pretoria, you know, we try to publish in our case in accredited journals because we want to be cited, but we don't encourage, in order to be cited, textbooks. So you'll probably find academics having difficulty subscribing to writing chapters for textbooks. So it's something which you need to keep in mind. I think, you know, in South Africa, especially the major universities, it's all about publish and cite. And textbooks does not support that version that we need. So we need to just take cognizance of that fact when we are dealing with textbooks.
yeah. This, brothers, and now I will use my refrain, which I use so many times. It's a Pan-African thing. It's for Africa. Our purpose here at NetACT is to write for Africa. I understand the South African scholars, they want to progress, they want to do that. They want to get the accolades and sometimes even the money in the publishing. It's a model that does not exist outside South Africa. So if we keep, I hear what Maniraj is saying, and I had a long conversation with a scholar, with a colleague in Bloemfontein the other day, because I specifically asked him to write something for Africa and he refused to do that. Then I don't think you're into Africa. So yes, we write textbooks because it's for Africa. If South Africa wants to use it, they're welcome. If they don't, they're also welcome. Sorry, that's my stance. Sorry, Maniraj. But I know we're not going to get maybe South African scholars to write, but our aim and our focus is not South African scholars only. So it's for Africa.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add to that, and I'm sorry, Sandra, this is important for you to do because you're also a research associate and you also get research subsidy from accredited journals. So, so what we have done in the past is we have asked people to write something to us, to submit it to a journal, and then to ask the journal whether we may republish it. And often they're willing to do that. They just usually want to do it first, you know, and then we just give credit to that. So that is a possible way around it. So.
Excellent. That's very good. Because even in the African Public Theology, that was what we did with some of the chapters. They are, yes, we asked permission to just rewrite them to fit this textbook.
Colleagues, I need to minute something here. What is our decision for the resolution? Are we tasking someone to do this? To contact the scholars?
Let's ask the vice chairman.
Vice chair, will that be okay?
Yeah.
Contact both Bundi and
Bundi and
Barnaby.
and Barnaby.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thank you. The resolution then is as follows. The board take note that due to an array of reasons, the project did not materialize into the publication of a book, and the vice chair is tasked to, and then I will pull it in, ask other scholars maybe to take the project forward. Chair, then we can proceed to 2.4, and then Fraser needs to come to the front.
Somebody needs to hold that camera so that those online do it. Can you just show them?
Okay, yeah, that's loud enough. Okay, let me just begin with an apology. The printed version that you got beforehand was not complete. The missing section was the section on communications, which was caused by a breakdown in communications between me and Nico. So you can read into that any irony that you want. Okay, so let me just go through the first couple of sections. The AGM is technically functioning, but we're quite disappointed in the take-up. I've given some of the figures there. It would be healthy enough in the first couple of months of the portal, but the portal's been going for a couple of years now, and it's a bit a little bit discouraging. But in the office, partly as has already been said, just trying to stress that we're a network and we're helping each other. And I've been looking at ways that the portal can also facilitate that. So this is the original software that we used, because some of our associate members were using it, or associate partners were using it to do something very similar. But I struggled to make it work, and I'm quite sure that that it's been an off-putting experience for some of our staff around the partnership to try to make it work. So I have been working on a more accessible version, which has just timed me out, but never mind, because what I'm going to look at primarily is what public sees. So in this case, it's branded much the same as our NetACT web pages. So you'll recognize these pictures. They're the same as are on the front page of the NetACT website. So I've tried to make the resources a lot more open and accessible and organize them more and slightly more intuitive way. So hopefully once, if the board accept it, then this can be something to re-engage our partners in the portal. But as I say, we want to do much more with encouraging partners to help themselves. So to that end, we've been encouraging partners to build their own things on the platform. So for example, JETS has moved their library catalogue onto the NetACT platform. As far as I'm aware from Donald in the JETS library, it's working well. And there are a few other institutions who are in process of doing this as well. Okay, and we're also getting partners to use NetACT to host their online courses. So just in July, I was in Windhoek helping Nets to put their courses online. As you see, although it's a NetACT platform, it can be branded for your own college so that your students know where they are and what they're doing. Okay. One of the ways in which both of these can facilitate partners in helping each other, for example, with the online courses, we want to encourage you to share your courses with other partners. Obviously, there's going to be a validation issue, so if you make your course available to share, each partner will have to tweak it slightly to satisfy their own country's accreditation requirements. But if you're willing and feel that this is one of the reasons why you're in NetACT, to share best practice, then please make your courses available. The other thing which I forgot to do is on the library side, there is a way in which you can share books you have. So this is just an example which I've been doing for a non-NetACT partner, which is the Volmut Retreat Centre on the south coast of South Africa. Those of you who don't know it, it's set up by John de Grucci, who's a fairly well-known Anglican scholar. So he has very keen to develop links with Huguenot College and Stellenbosch. So he got me to set it up so that, if somebody searches and doesn't find anything, then they're taken immediately to search boxes for Huguenot College Library Catalogue or Stellenbosch University Library Catalogue. So that's something that I think I could see working around the partnership. Just to take this an example from an area I know, if a student searches TCNN Library Catalogue in Bukaroo and doesn't find the books, then perhaps they can find them either in Jets, which is about 20 minutes north, or in the BTS Kaduna, which is about an hour south. So yeah, hopefully over the next year, and I will say that, as I've said in this thing, is that we've learned by experience that personal visits are the best way to encourage people to take up the network. And obviously that was a problem during COVID, but we will see what we can do. And now to move to the section of my report, which you haven't seen, so I will share this. Okay, if I can find, here we go. Yes, communications. So we want to encourage you all to communicate and for us to be able to communicate with you. So general information we put out in two ways: through the main NetACT website, which is netact.org.za, and there are still some people who are using the old NetACT, which was .christians.co.za, but please, I don't think that's live any longer. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/NetACTmain. I'm the only one who puts stuff on it, and I'm not always as careful or energetic as I might be in finding stuff to put on it. I think the last thing that went on was on the 1st of September. But there is helpful stuff. If I see adverts for academic conferences in Africa or good theological books that are being made available online, then I'll push these out through Facebook. We also have a bulletin that Hannes is putting out occasionally when he gets enough information, which he sends by email. But we want to hear from you as well. The vote and the website are supposed to be vehicles where news from you is shared around the network. So if you have a news story, then you email it to Hannes to go on the bulletin, or email it to Mariette Udendal, who's our webmaster, webmaster@netactmail.org.za. It's fairly easy. And just a couple of examples of stories that you might want to share. I'm not sure if he's moved. Got our brother from Malawi was talking just at the tea break about sharing Africa Public Theology and some other books with the Minister of Religion in Malawi, just like as Sunday was able to share with the Vice President and the previous President in Nigeria. So that's the sort of thing, especially if we've got pictures that the rest of the partnership needs to know about. And just another story, and I'm going to plead your indulgence while I bang the TCNN drum again. Most you know that I'm British, so of course I was watching all the coverage of the Queen's death and mourning period and so on. And not the state funeral in London, but there was a service in Edinburgh, in St Giles Cathedral the week before. And I was looking at the introduction and it said, one of the prayers is going to be led by a Nigerian student. And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting enough. Then I was watching it and the camera panned round to the people waiting to take part. And who's this Nigerian student but somebody called Samuel Nokoro, who did his BTH and his MTH at TCNN while I was there. He's now an assistant minister and a master's student in Edinburgh. And he'd been invited to lead some of the prayers at this service. So that's the sort of thing that you could share. But we also want to hear the day-to-day stuff as well. Don't think, oh, I've not done anything, my college or institution hasn't done anything special or exciting. Because it's also good to hear about things like 20 students were graduated. We want to know that there are 20 new ministers, 20 new pastors going into your surroundings. You know, that's the sort of thing that encourages us. To a certain extent, yeah, it's your bread and butter and maybe you become used to it, but it's encouraging. And I'll say this as well, it's really, I am going back to the UK at the end of the year. And one of the things I'll be doing is going around churches, saying, remember me, you're supporting me, and please keep supporting me. And it's really good for me to have stories to tell, because showing a website that I built doesn't excite anybody, or maybe excites one or two people, but they're as strange as me. But but if I can say, oh, yes, one of the NetACT partners had, you know, they were really excited about their graduation, and there are 50 pastors, and one of them's going into this village, and one of them's going into that village. That's the sort of thing that excites Christians who are supporting NetACT through me back in the UK. So please, if you can, if you have anything at all that you think would be worth sharing, then please do share it. But the other thing is, yes. But the other thing is, to keep in regular email contact, we need updated contacts. And this is one of the bits that the communications breakdown. The printed version was supposed to have something for you all to fill in when you're here, but too late. But I noticed that Hannes had emailed it round to all your institutions again. So please check your emails when you next get a chance, just so that you know what you're looking for. Let me share it. Yes, there we go. Yes, so this is it. It's a simple form. We just want to know the name, the role, and contact details for up to 5 representatives from your institution. One at least should be a librarian. That would be really helpful for us, or an IT, somebody in library or IT. But somebody, we want people who are, who we know will respond to emails and will share the information with your partners. So please think carefully about who you're going to name as contacts. Yeah, so that's my report. Any questions on that?
Colleagues, can I maybe just, we had a discussion about the NetACT Internet Portal. Now we will be discussing tomorrow membership fees. Now, one of the aspects in the past is that we urged our members our partners in the network to pay the membership fees because they get access to the internet portal. The problem is everything that we have on the portal is anyway open source.
Almost everything.
Almost everything. There's 1 or 2 or 3 books that, the specific rights given to us. So it's a very small section. So one of the things which we sort of moved to now to say is the internet portal will be open. Tomorrow, we have Bennu van den Toorn from the Protestant University in the Netherlands coming online, and they will quickly have a discussion about the Africa Theology online. I don't know who of you are familiar with that. It's an excellent tool to use in terms of open source resources because it gives a portal, an access portal to the catalog. It's basically a catalog, and they catalog all the open source stuff that's available. It's for free. So, and we are also linked there, and they are also linked with us. So that's the type of way that open source resources are working. So what is the internet portal bringing to you? I think in a way the internet portal is bringing to you a platform where you can use to do your online teaching and learning. Moodle, the Huguenot College, that's the same portal. It's the same platform that you are using there. Yeah. So, and Andre is also here, so you can speak to Andre to ask, how is it working? Fraser built that, they built it together as a school. You don't have to go and buy expensive online teaching stuff. We have it, it's for free. You don't have to pay for it. It helps if you pay your membership fees, but you don't pay your membership fees. We would like to get away a little bit from that. This is the kind of service that we render to our institutions. If you're a member, Fraser can help you, he can assist you. That's why you will see one of the resolutions that there is that express our sincere gratitude to the supporters of Fraser. Yeah. Because it makes it possible for him to live with us. And like he explained, he's not like an ordinary missionary. If he goes back and I don't know about you, but when I go back of my travels, then the old ladies in the old age home, they will ask me, so, okay, Pastor, how many souls have you won in Africa? So, okay. So that's not because they hear missions and mission secretary, oh, you're winning souls, Fraser is winning souls, but sometimes he's losing his own soul. If the institutions are not responding.
I mean, my ethos has always been serving servants. I've always been sort of what you would call a background worker in Christian service. So, and with NetACT, it's almost serving the servants of servants, because I'm helping you to teach students who will go out to be pastors, who will be the ones who will actually, we trust will win the souls. Yeah, there's a theological issue there, but we won't go into that. Yeah, but just to back up what Niku was saying, this is the only stuff that we have that's actually we've been asked not to share it unless people are logged in. So there's one book, Mission and Church in Malawi by Martin Powell, which is only available to view online, not available to download. And then there are 3 books. I know there's 4 there, but one of them is the Portuguese translation of Jurgen's book on studying congregations. So 3 books and 1, 2, 3, and 4 articles. So that's all we have that is licensed. Everything else that we're sharing, we're just essentially bringing together things that you can find across the internet for free and putting the links to them available in one place. And just while we're talking on that, something that I don't think has been really used nearly as much as it should have been is this public theology course, which was put together by Lutheran World Foundation, the Bears Now, somebody else can pronounce that Afrikaans name, Center for Public Theology, and the Berlin Institute for Public Theology. So it's a full course of public theology lectures with a range of lecturers, including Prof. Agang. But it's an international, it's not only Africans, it's a completely international lecture, and it's been made freely available. It's essentially, it's a whole course, and as far as I can see from logs, it's not really being used too much. So there's a YouTube playlist which just gives you all the videos, or there are these individual links which take you to, I think it's to the Berlin University site, which also has help guides and study questions for you to use in a classroom situation. So yeah, that's
what I've discussed with Benu, and probably they will mention it tomorrow, is we are planning together with them to put together a course, an online course on how to do research online. Because what we experience, and now I'm going to be a little bit harsh. We experience that the scholars are not trusting or using the librarians. It is if they're among our scholars in our institutions, is this thing that they don't go and ask for help. They want to do it themselves. Well, we spent, you will remember 3 years just before COVID, we spent quite a substantial amount of money training your librarians. We've got a hand online. Leonard will come to you just now. We spend a lot of money to train your librarians. If you're not using them, training was in vain. And I know there were some changes at some of our institutions as I visit them. There were some changes in the library. So, but please contact Fraser. That's why we have this resource. The whole thing of cataloging I come to libraries and then they still use the old card system. Yes, you can use that too, but you can also make it available that others can see what books you have, which they might want to use or get a copy of, or maybe make 1 or 2 copies of a page or something. That's how we do research together. That's how we collaborate. So I've asked Benu that we start working on an online course, which we will be putting onto the NIP, on how to do open source research on the internet for scholars and for students. And let me tell you now where I see when our scholars, when our lecturers are not using their libraries. We see it when they submit the papers to the journal. Colleagues, it's not of good quality. It's riddled with old resources. It's riddled with irrelevant information because that scholar did not do online research. The scholars write what they've got in their libraries, and that sometimes is old. You have free resources. It's just the data that you need to use. Use that. So please, that's now my sermon for the evening. And then everybody shouts amen, or preach him, brother, preach him, or go home, you don't know what you're talking about. Chair, thank you. That's my story.
I just wanted to say that perhaps it won't be. I don't want to add to the task of Fraser that is quite substantial already. But I was wondering whether it would not work if we have like a podcast thing that explains the NIP and the benefits of the NIP. If you or Hela at our faculty can do something like that, and that we can send that to our members. And I'm thinking now, you know, if you have a first year class, to make that part of the introduction to the course, to look at the video and to see what is available, because I'm not always sure, you know, that whether the message gets across. And even for your postgrads, you know, to have them look at it. Look, not all institutions will necessarily use the NIP. Some institutions have their own resources and databases and whatever that they subscribe to. But I think that, you know, for those who do need this, some kind of introductory, as I say, you know, a podcast or a recording or whatever will be useful. Also because your junior students, your undergrads, you know, when they start their studies, they are so at sea that even the simplified NIP might be very intimidating for them. So it's just a suggestion.
Sorry. Yeah, let me answer that, Len, first, and then I will speak to Leonard's question. Yeah, you've heard me speak, Len. You think that I'm the voice for a podcast?
Any volunteers without a Scottish accent?
No, that's fine. I think that's a good idea. One of the things that in the UK, my experience was that you generally have to do the IT orientation. It's no point in doing it right at the start of a student's career because they don't know what they need to know at that point. So you maybe do the first explanations maybe after 4 or 5 weeks when they've had a few lectures and they're starting to understand what academic study is about, and they when they need to write an assignment. Or when they need to write an assignment, yes. And then you also need to refresh, because then at the start of 3rd year, when somebody says to them, you've got a dissertation this year, suddenly they can't remember anything they were told about doing a dissertation way back in their 1st year orientation. So yeah, it needs to be an ongoing process. So yeah, and that's, well, obviously we're talking about how the network, the core office team are stretched, but again, we'd love to share best practice. So if some of you do things like this, then please share with us what you've, even if your actual course is proprietary and confidential or copyright or whatever, share with us what type of things work and what type of things don't work so that we can share. I'm not at all going to commit to doing something that's regular enough to be called a podcast. But yeah, I think we can definitely do some recordings and some sound files. Okay, and then Leonard's question. Books like Congregational Studies are not available. Even the current African Public Theology is not available online yet, but we have found the internet portal useful. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why there are so few licensed resources on our site. We found that the cost of e-versions of books is prohibitive. If you say, okay, well, we're going to be very targeted and pick books which are relevant, which are on our curricula, then you're buying an individual book. You're paying lots and lots of possibly hundreds of dollars if you're saying that there's going to be a couple of hundred students accessing the book, and that's just for one book. If you go to a company like EBSCO who offers packages, then yeah, they'll give you a package price, but it's still expensive, and so much of what you're paying for you're not going to use. You might have some books that are relevant to your courses in that package, but not all of them will be. All I can say is that e-publishing is still in a fairly early developmental stage. One of the issues is that publishing houses still haven't worked out a pricing model that is fair to them, but is also fair to colleges and institutions. Yeah, so it's really sort of watch this space, and as soon as things do become available, we will do. And I'm not going to make any commitments, but I think a project that we could look for project funding for would be to take a specific book, like a really important book like African Public Theology, and say to Langham, how much would you charge us to put this on our website behind a login screen, but you know, would we, or yeah, just on, only viewable online, not downloadable, but would you consider a decent price for us? Yeah.
Maniraj, Mike?
I think Lynn probably can assist with this one as well. AOSIS, of course, is a publishing house, but they also incorporated a lot of journals. I think of HTS, I think of Andy Lug, I think of many of them. And they have gone open source now, and you can register to them, with them, and have access to hundreds of thousands of articles that you will need. And I don't think it costs, I think anyone can register, Len, if I remember correctly. So that's a wonderful academic platform that you can use. And what I have found with my students, especially at the postgraduate level, is that instead of referring to students to books or buying books, it's normally very expensive. But you can go online, register with these journals, and do a search for the kind of articles you need for your lectures. And you can download them, and you can create what is called a reader that students can use. So it's just another access that we can have to hundreds of thousands of articles, and you can do a research. And that's, if you remember, doesn't cost you a cent, but you have access to good quality peer-reviewed articles.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, yes, I was aware that there were some AOSIS books, but I didn't realize that they were going completely open source. That's that's good to know. Yeah, I mean, one of the links that there is on the site is just to the directory of open access journals, and of course that's something that's always growing. So you can check, keep going back to check what new journals and what new what new publishers have gone on to that.
Chair, just a minor observation. Okay. On the impact and use of the NIP as yes, I feel like the way we're discussing here, we should also bear in mind that we are at different levels of connectivity in our institutions. And if I may recall, in the past, I think 2018, 2019, NetACT has been calling for improvement in terms of connectivity. And I feel, anyway, before that, I remember when we had the training for librarians and ICT officers in our zones, this was one of the issues that was going to be addressed. And I feel like there has been very little progress and achievement on that. And I don't know how NetACT, in response to our theme for this year, the Africa we want, I don't know how best we can address that issue, because honestly, for some institutions which have very acute or serious problem in terms of connectivity, even very few members of staff have been able to access the portal and the resources we are talking about. And that has been a very big challenge in terms of realizing the desired impact on the NIP. I don't know, Chair, what we can do as NetACT to improve that, because that has remained a problem for some time now.
Shall I? Yeah, the first point, I think, not to preempt things, but I think that will probably be covered in the next section where we're looking at the IT and curriculum survey, but specifically the IT survey. On the point, yeah, I take your point that that staff have had challenges with the software, which is why I was presenting this new, hopefully improved, hopefully more intuitive and more easy to access way of getting to the information.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just want to appreciate what our friend Mr. Fraser has been doing and is doing. And a point to note is you managed to visit our institution. You were there. Of course, you had problems with traveling, but you finally got there and see what we have, and what we do not have. Yes. I think that one is a good thing, because at times when we come, we don't come with our institution. We just come alone. Yes. So that is a point to note. And I think the chair has noted it, and even Reverend Nick Momostat, to say there is lack of continuity. Some people from our institutions have been trained and they are gone. Now, at our college, we do not even know how to log in, because the person who was taught is gone. You see, that is the problem which we have. So it has to be taken note of. But I have realized that even we have new people, we can connect them to Mr. Fraser, so that there is that continuity. Then the other thing is what my colleague has said. Institutions are different, and they are at different levels of connectivity. At times, with these blackouts, some institutions, you can go even a week or two without internet. You see, yes. And even when that internet comes, the bandwidth is very low, to the extent that when the accountant is doing the payments, students cannot log in. If they log in, then everything goes down. You see. Then backup in terms of solar, it doesn't fit. The solar backup is not enough to support the systems. Yeah. So it boils back to every one of us to say, how can we come in and help? If there are partners who can help in terms of upgrading our solar system so that we have a dependable backup, because the electricity is proving to be a problem. Even here in South Africa, it's a problem. Yeah. So if it is a problem in South Africa, then what about Zimbabwe? Then there is nothing there. You see.
Let me tell another story just to illustrate that point. I was in another African country visiting a non-NetACT partner, and they told me that they should have had fiber 9 months ago. They were in the capital city of their country. They should have had fiber 9 months ago, but the mobile phone companies had bribed the diggers not to lay the cable any closer to the capital city. So yes, some problems are beyond NetACT. Yes, but yes, certainly we want to try to help us if we can, and my brother from Cameroon still has half a conversation to have with me on what I can do about providing remote training so that staff in your institutions can at least get some basic. So going on from what we were talking about with Len just a few minutes ago about student orientation, we also need perhaps to find some ways to do remote staff orientation.
Yes. I wanted to ask, when the librarians came to NetACT, they were connected to each other. Do you still keep in touch with them, or the librarians, they don't keep in touch? Because I feel like if they were still connected, they could be sharing some of the challenges that they have with, yeah.
I'm trying not to blush because you're touching a sore point on my conscience. No, we started WhatsApp groups for each little regional group, and they carried on for a while, and then folk drifted away and stopped contacting. And yeah, that's something that's on my conscience, that I didn't do more proactively to keep these groups together. But also I've got an unanswered email from about a week ago from some of the Kenyan librarians who want to know what's happening and how they can be more involved. So thank you for reminding me, Maggie.
Yes, because I was checking with our librarian. She has some issues, but she cannot come to my office and tell me, but it should be comfortable to share with fellow librarians. So if you keep the communication, that would be helpful to us. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, that's also part of why we want you to give us librarian details as part of this refresh of the contacts, so that we know who is currently in your library. Yeah.
Can I just add something quickly? Just on this lag of with the hardware and infrastructure assistance, it also has to do, of course, with COVID. I mean, everything is very convenient to blame on COVID, but I think this is one where it's justified. There was a two years now that kind of was taken out of all of our planning and all of our projects. So that's also important. But that makes, when we're going to speak at another session about the feedback that we need, it makes it absolutely crucial. There's no way in which NetACT can assist to help or ask people to assist if we do not know exactly what's going on the ground.
Chair, if we can conclude this one, then we can do the next one, because that's the answer to the questions in terms of the two surveys that we want to conduct. So if we can finish that by tonight, then we can conclude. So if the group is still up to it, then we can do 2.4. There's two proposals. Okay, you have only one proposal at the NIP report, or maybe there's two. The two proposals are: the board agrees that the NIP program director should proceed in the line with the direction suggested in the report. And number two, the board expressed their sincere gratitude towards the supporters of Fraser Jackson, who makes it possible for him to serve NetACT in the capacity of NIP program director. Can we get that two resolutions sorted? Is everybody okay with that? Thank you, colleagues. Then we can move on, Chair, to 2.4. 2.5, sorry.
But perhaps before he returns, he was asking of news. What happened at Pretoria today can be part of the news. Can be part of that news. The other thing, as a network, there are things that we may not have the capacity of doing, but we can direct you to where you can get things done. Perhaps he's going to talk about IT. When he talks about that, I'm going to recommend a foundation that we can actually pull ourselves together to send a request for the internet strengthening of the internet in institutions.
Colleagues, if you turn to 2.5, and that will be on your page 10. Page 10, if you use the online, there's some changes to that one. So that will be on the screen. There was some sort of a development, late development yesterday, so I will just report on that too. Colleagues, during the pandemic, the office received various requests for assistance in terms of curriculum and IT, exactly what is expressed now again, because all of a sudden everybody was forced to go online. And I think with Barnabas, you remember in 2020, 2021, Barnabas presented a couple of webinars in terms of online learning. Now, some of the mistakes that many of our institutions made was they thought that I could just take my curriculum as it is and I just put it online. But online learning and teaching is a completely different animal. It's not just by taking this old lectures of mine and all of a sudden I go and stand there and I read them off and then think that the students will listen to them. So that sort of caused a whole lot of questions in terms of curriculum and our curriculum development and how do we evaluate curriculum. Now, some of you are connected to ACT, so you've been through processes. Some of you have been through processes in terms of your accreditation in your countries. So, but many others of our institutions does not have that privileges to do that. So we talked to Tyndall House Foundation. Hello, I'm there. To Tyndall House Foundation and asked them to sponsor, if they could maybe give a grant for us, to do a very thorough survey in terms of curriculum and also in terms of IT. And that's now the answer to the questions. We get many requests for IT. And let me tell you sometimes what I experience is. I experience a request for IT with an X amount of dollars that are asked or requested from the office. And then I visit an institution. And then I see at the institution, but everything that's requested is already there. But there's just not no internet. But the request came through for like $30,000 and $40,000 for equipment that's already there. Now, in a way, it's unethical. If you go to a donor with a request like that, they will not look at it. If the problem is internet, that's the request. If the problem is hardware, that's the request. If the problem is software, that's the request. But you cannot ask huge amounts of money and then think donors will contribute, because that's what happened with COVID. The donors are not giving money. They are very, very tight in terms of money. And the paperwork, getting money out of America is extremely difficult at the moment. So what we did then is we said, look, we came together, a couple of us, and said, right, let's do a survey. We got a grant from Tyndall House Foundation. They were willing to fund this for us. And we will do it as follows. Some of you have already received it. So you need to look at Addendum 3. In Addendum 3, you will find the 2 surveys. I'm going to give an opportunity now to Kruger. He worked very hard on this. And then we will also do, and then I will talk about Addendum 7. So just hold that one a little bit back. So in terms of the 2 surveys, the IT survey and the IT survey and this curriculum survey. Let's quickly talk on the IT survey. What Fraser then did for us was to compile for us a very comprehensive self-evaluation survey, which you as institutions need to or can. It's not a compulsory. Remember, we are a network. If you don't want to participate in the surveys, you are welcome not to. What we hope to achieve is, if we get all this data back from you, there it is. If we get all the data back from you, we will be able to help you maybe to compile a better request to donors. It's not that NetACT in a way, remember, when we were a small organization, it was easy to go to a donor and ask for money in terms of IT for 10 or 5 or 10 institutions. We are now 54 institutions. So you can imagine the amounts of money that we talk to if we need to go and ask money for a project that includes 54 institutions. There's not donors out there that will do that money. So what we can do is we can help you. You have got your own donor lists as well, people that you know, but we can help you with this information to compile a better application to your own donors. What we also can do after this is to approach some of the people that we've worked with in the past and approach them with specifics. Remember now what I said, not generalizations. If you need a generator in one place, we can ask them for a generator for one place. If you need a satellite dish to communicate or to get better internet, we can ask for that in another institution. But we need to have the specifics. We think if we break it down in the specifics, we have a better chance to get funding for certain projects. So we really rely now on you to do the first part of the surveys is that you do it yourself. The second part of the survey is that we try to see if a team can come and visit you, but that's up to you. You can request that. You will see that on the letter that I sent out, you have the option. Once you've completed the survey, you can request that we visit you. Fraser can come for the IT, and we will be dividing the exco up into teams that will come and visit your institution and have a conversation with you on curriculum issues. So that's the survey, the 2 surveys which we are planning to do. We are a little bit on a deadline. Again, we've sent this out, but our responses are not that good. So colleagues, we need to start, if you're really serious about this, make sure you have all the forms, contact the office for Hannes that he can resend it to you if you didn't get it. But we really need to get this as soon as possible so that we can set up, if there's a visitation needed, we need to set that up. It's not just people are all limited and pressed for time. So we need to plan it. And we need to report back to our donors from April next year. Then we need to report back to Tindalaus Foundation on how far this project is. The second part of the project, I approached the PCUSA some time back, at conversations with them, and they were very interested in the project. So you will see in addendum 7, if you have a new, on the one that we sent out, it's not on that one, because Doug Tilton emailed me yesterday morning. So in version 6, if you have received it online, so Charisma, Fraser, can we go to addendum 7, please? No, yeah, way at the end, addendum 7. If you change your view to navigation pane, if you click that button, navigation pane.
That's Charisma you should talk to.
Yeah, Charisma. I looked over
there.
here.
There you go.
There it is. No, that's not that one.
No, that's not.
Yeah, so there's the curriculum survey. And then, yeah, but you need to go to this way at the end. It's the last one. Okay. There's some more. That's a very long one. Some more down, 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 down. Some more. Just after that one. Next one. There it is. There's the last one. So you will find also then that the project proposal that we've put through for $20,000 to the PCUSA in order to help us with the next phase, we want to get specifically on curriculum development and curriculum discussions. They are willing to help us to get conversation groups going. So that's sort of part of the whole thing is that after we have the results from the survey, we can go into a next phase to start discussion groups and to help one another with curriculum development. We don't have experts, but you are the experts. The problem with bringing people from the outside is we can go to mission organizations and ask them to send someone, but many times those people are not contextual. They don't know the context. So if we can get a process going, we hope to do that we can get a process going where peers can sit together and talk about curriculum. And you can work with one another in terms of better curriculum development. And that's sort of the idea which PCUSA is really interested in funding and helping us with. So Doug sent me that yesterday, so that's why it's a little bit of a late entry. So it's actually good news that we can go into a second phase after we've done the first phase. And then they will help us with that funding for that project. Krieger, I would like to give you quickly an opportunity to talk. Fraser can, maybe when Krieger is done, when Fraser can do quickly talk on the IT one, if you want to. Krieger can quickly talk on the curriculum development one, and then I want you to give an opportunity. Yes. Yeah, it's not there. It's the one that we received by email. Yeah, we sent out this morning an email. That's the. You didn't get it. Honest. Yeah, it was sent out early morning.
Yes. Yeah, I sent to all the people here.
Oh, didn't get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yes. So there's a navigation pane. Donkey, Charisma. That will help you to navigate quickly. Okay. Clear. Microphone. It's here with Maggie.
Or do you want to speak here?
Oh, speak here. You can speak here as well.
Brothers and sisters, perhaps just a little bit background where this whole questionnaire, it's not a questionnaire, it's a question, curriculum conversation document comes from. It was already in 2005 that NetACT had a meeting at Hefzim in Mozambique. And the idea was then curriculum development. So it was then asked who would be willing to do a little bit research on curriculum development on the then 10 only institutions that was formed part of NetACT. And I was the stupid one who said, yes, I'll do it. NetACT was so good as to help me with a bursary and to do my dissertation on curriculum development in institutions of Presbyterian and Reformed background in Sub-Saharan Africa. So in this whole endeavor, I was given also the opportunity to start with that what I already learned, to start giving workshops all over the show, from Kenya to Zambia to Zimbabwe, Malawi, down south, even South Africa. So what resulted from that was then my dissertation under Jurgens Hendrikse and then also Karl Arendt. So it was a double dissertation. So I thought it was not a bad thing from a philosophic point of view. But to my disappointment, what do you do? Who read it? I mean, Jurgens read it and the other guy, there's not a lot of other people. What happened in the meantime was because it is on open, I'm receiving every day people from all over the world who said, we read it, it's good, and you know, that academic kind of things. So it is people from the medical and all over the show are just going to that and finding something, I don't know what. What I want to say is that I just thought, wow, we can do something more. It actually dwindled down, and now there came a new thing. He said, yes, we want to again talk about our curriculum development. And so I was part of Madeline Naidu, who went to the Baptist Church in Johannesburg and to Zambia to talk a little bit about curriculum development, integrative theology. That's the newest, and I published 2 articles on that. Then we started to say, but how can we go basically to our institutions on grassroots level in a certain sense? And then came this idea of why don't we, based on my PhD and based on ACTA information, why don't we do a conversation document? And so it was quite a nice job we did on Zoom, and I was sometimes with Nico in his office, because we are working. The old age home where I'm staying is just next to his office. So you could see myself, and Hannes also worked, and then Thijs Blok and Marika Blok. So and even Jurgens then also at the end was helping. So what we want to say is we were very sensitive, and Nico helped us with that, not to prescribe, not to put forward, this is a questionnaire you have to answer. The whole thing is for yourself. So let's think, like our brother Patrick says, let's use our higher thinking skills and things to come together and to think principally on curriculum development. So we took 3, 4 basic pillars. We said, okay, one is it normative? Is it contextual? Is it integrative? Is it missional? And does it all lead to emotional and spiritual stability or maturity? On that basis, we did this whole questionnaire. And so the questions there, within some questions, part of my dissertation, others we were thinking hard about it. So if I just take you quickly, just through the first one, for example, what should be done? So we will say, for example, the normative curriculum is on page 35. It's a biblical grounded and value-driven curriculum. Every institute should reflect on these principal values. Doing a normative audit. So you're doing an audit in a sense of your own institution. Who's doing it? On the first page, we said so many people possible. Faculty members, students, other stakeholders. So the more the merrier, not the only merrier, but the better. If you only do it to your academic dean, whatever, that will not do. You want people to become involved and to think principally about curriculum and curriculum development. So we will, for example, ask, do you find in your normative approach on your curriculum a servitude, a servanthood attitude? But now you have to think about it. The problem is that we sometimes found people say that the abusas or the who's finished are sometimes arrogant, become arrogant. And so we said, how can it be? It should be part and parcel of your curriculum. So now we have to reflect on it and say, how can we really help people to become a servant with attitude, part and parcel of the whole curriculum? The same thing with human rights, changes sensitivity. So we have to reflect on ourselves. Do we have something in our changes sensitivity? Ecological sensitivity? What is it in ethics, or is it good or not, or what? Inclusive approach to it, marginalized people groups. Do we have something like that? Are we sensitive? We're talking a lot with our brother Sunday. The basic words is compassion. Do we really have compassion as a key word in our whole hermeneutic approach? So democracy and so on. I'm not carrying on, but you will see then we thought, how can we help you? So what we said, okay, then when you have that, we asked, give 3 to 5 strong points on your institution. This whole thing of strong points, weak points, opportunities, and threats, just to help you to think. So yes, we've got good books. Yes, we've got pastors. We've got good integrity students or what the case may be. But here, in this normative, we realize we are not touching on gender issues. We don't have anything on servanthood, really how to serve amongst your people. Okay, so then that's a weak point. And so what are we doing about it? Number 3, that you will always find plans is there strongly put. And and then the threats. So when you go through this, I think it's just a good exercise in the philosophy of curriculum. And then we can get to the nitty-gritty. And this is also if we write outcomes for every module. So are we touching the heads? Yes. Is it intellectual stimulating? Yes or no? Are we helping the people to think for themselves? Yes or no? But is there compassion with that? Is it a hard thing also? How do we do that? And of course, then your hands, action, transformative actions. So that's in short that I want to say, Nico. I don't know if there's any questions, but last night we sent our brother and the Bok family to Lesotho, and I see our brother Mshwesha is here, and perhaps you can ask him to say something. How was it? It was boring or what? Thank you.
Thank you, Kruger. Maybe is there questions for Kruger before I give to Tati Mshwesha? So is there any questions? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it going to help? Is it, that's what we got from the office? Is it a good reflection of what we hear from you as well?
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to say, yes, we went through this in a first cycle, and perhaps, you know, after 15 years, it's a good time to go through that cycle again. The first time we were like 15 members, 13 to 15 members. Now we're 54, and we've already had requests for assistance with curriculum. So it might be a good time to go through this exercise again, to complete this form and see whether you are still happy with what you're doing, and if you need assistance, to ask for it.
Again, it's not so much for us in the office, it's for you yourself. It's a tool that you can use. If you want to have a conversation about it, yeah, call us, you know, send us a mail and say, yes, come and sit with us and think with us. But it's a tool in your hands as well. Thank you,
just
David.
Before you give the opportunity, just say, the normal thing is the quickest thing. You said, which books are available? So people just said, oh, that's a good book, so let's put it in ethics. That's a good new book coming. Not thinking holistically and integratively, but on books and the availability of things and adding things to things. We also talk here about the hidden curriculum. What are the ethos of your people? What's really going on? It's not written. So I think it's good stuff. And it's, as we in Portuguese say, vale a pena, it's worth a while to do this effort. I think it's.
This project is coming on at, I don't know, I think it's a consultation that made it. Last year in Nairobi, there was already a consultation on theological education. And we're concluding that the issue is about revisiting the curriculum of theological institutions. So I want to thank NetACT. Of course, NetACT co-sponsored the consultation in Nairobi, but I want to thank NetACT that already had a vision and had started talking about curriculum. So what I want to suggest is that that consultation should add the zeal and the vision of NetACT to recognize that their thoughts were in line and in perfect move with what is happening in the world, in Africa today. And to add to what we have just been saying about public theology, if our theology, or if the problems the problems we are facing today, beginning from the challenges that were enumerated yesterday. I felt I was dead alive, fallen Patrick yesterday. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, well, I have two consolations. The first consolation is that NetACT is already thinking about emphasizing on the use of, on the inclusion of something in the light of public theology into the curriculum. But secondly, it is about the revision of the curriculum in order that it should become contextual. Because as a matter of fact, some of the issues that he raised yesterday are contextual issues that need to be taken into consideration by theological institutions. I don't think that the issues that he raised yesterday were issues to churches, because churches are already, excuse me to say it, they're already bent. Up is already crooked. I think the basis where we can succeed is to begin from theological institutions. And then probably empower church leaders to do seminars for the crooked ones that are ahead, those of us who are already crooked. But the basis, we start polishing the basis and preparing that ground for that agenda. If we think that we will get to the agenda with those of us crooked, I doubt so much. So the place of the curriculum for me, which is being discussed now, is very, very fundamental. If we get to 2063, it's about it is about that young generation that is not yet polluted. Right. Because to bend us now may not be very, very easy. But if we begin from the theological institutions and that new breed, and make emphasis on the new breed, on community issues, on religious challenges, on public issues, they will push us to change. So I think we're on a good footing, and I would rather pray to the executive director to write more projects on curriculum because it is relevant. And I wish that we even push the issue of the curriculum much more further than that.
Yeah. Okay, let me just say something about this issue of curriculum. You know that our target is the African Renaissance. African Renaissance. We can't get the Africa we want or the Africa God wants without revisiting our curriculum. That is one. Secondly, why we are emphasizing that we need to begin to think of ourselves, because the rest of the world is looking up to Africa. The West right now is looking forward to our publications, is interested in our theological reflections. So we need to take that very, very seriously. The third thing I will say about curriculum here is the fact that there are other organizations in Africa that are also emphasizing this. You have Overseas Council working with institutions that are members of Overseas Council on the point of reassessing our curriculum. You also have scholar leaders with their program on vital sustainable initiatives, also emphasizing on strategic curriculum planning that will fit the institutions and really meet the needs of your institution. So we need to look at all of that. Now, this survey that we want, one of the things we want you to indicate is, are you working with an organization already on curriculum development for your institution, so that we know that. Because if not, if we don't get any response, we will think that we have not done anything and you are not interested. Just tell us, give us information about what already you have done and what you think NetACT can also help.
Chair, we've been through the process with Marija, so maybe I want to give a short moment to Marija. Two of the lecturers are here, so maybe okay, that is you.
Okay, Ned. We had a good conversation with the representatives of NetACT who visited us. And before they came, we had tried to fill this to respond. But as we were alerted, as they enlightened us, when they came, we realized that we hadn't really gotten what is required. But looking at the process in this curriculum, I would say guidelines, we think it is helpful for our institution in many ways, but mainly because we are now undergoing a curriculum review. We are actually reworking our 5-year diploma. It used to be a 5-year diploma and very heavy, treated as a Bachelor of Divinity, but at the end of the day, you only get a diploma. So 5 years with biblical languages throughout, and sometimes French and others. So, well, after that, you could enter into a master's degree and perform very well. Some of our people who have gone to other schools and they were taken through, they were enrolled in a bachelor's degree, proved very quickly that they would have done something about it. So at the moment, we are reworking that program to fit in the national qualification frameworks and really strictly structuring it. And what we realize, also our program goes for 10 semesters. We have semesterized the program. So it's going to run for 10 semesters. And these fields that are listed here, as the 5 of them, as we look at it, it seems we can when you design a program, you would be having different core and elective courses that you put through, and so we see this structure as helping us to categorize our modules in such a way that our program is quite intact. We don't leave anything out, and we find it holistically to help us to create a holistic program. It goes along with what we already, or our vision, which is to produce a minister who is contextually grounded, but has an international outlook. Somebody who can function well within the church, but also assist the church to function as a community within a community that is helpful to that particular, so that the church doesn't live like a silo within the context, its context. So we found it very helpful. We have not yet delved into utilizing it as yet, especially because that will come at the point where we describe our modules. And partly it's because we do not have, our board is not the final decision maker. The executive committee of the church, of the denomination out there is the final decision maker. So in terms of staff reinforcement, we had to wait a little bit. And it's only now that we know exactly who is going to work with us. So I think when Nico, when the team came, we only had 4 lecturers, but now we have 4 who are full-time, and in total we have about 11. That is on top of those 4, we have others who are coming part-time. And it's a very vibrant team, and we believe that we will get somewhere. But this document is what we needed. You look at this document and you look at the requirements of the accreditation body in Lesotho. Well, I worked in Botswana, it's about the same thing. I think even South African Council on Higher Education, it's about the same. You take this puts some, if that was to be, if the requirements of the accreditation body would be the bones, then this would be the flesh. This gives the curriculum a better sense because it speaks directly to what should go into the curriculum. So we really recommend it for those who were doubting it. But in Lesotho, we are going to use it. So, and the team that visited us was a very good team. You'll be unfortunate if you are not visited by that team. Oh, okay. And thank you very much.
Our time is a little bit, sorry.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions on this? I'm looking at our time. We want to finish by 9, but we don't have to rush, but maybe last comments and remarks.
This process can only succeed if we can send this stuff to all the places. And this is one of the problems that I'm struggling with at this stage. Our data is not on date. So that's why I sent it earlier this year. I sent out, and we received only from 12 institutions. We give feedback. So please, please, please help me, because we want this process work, and we need your insight. So please make sure that we have your correct information.
Okay.
I just would like to show that the last general questions, the whole idea was thought-provoking. So here is, for example, 10. What do you do with public theology? So that, and a lot of these questions around public theology. And then we would ask you, last time we talked about agricultural as part of your curriculum. Yeah. Was there any response on this or not? You know, so all these things are just thought-provoking and helping us to think what we already did. Okay, so thank you and good luck with this. Can I just say I'm extremely thankful to Daniel de Wet that is here and to Nico, the two what we call missional secretaries of the Western Cape and of Free State, who actually are paying me to do this job. from their offices, and so making it possible to go places and to visit. I visited now recently Mozambique. I'm away. Hopefully next year we've got problems with communication with Angola, but so thank you for them and making it in a very short time possible for me to be full-time busy with curriculum development. Thank you.
But before we applaud him, I want to take this time on behalf of NetACT to actually appreciate you and the team that work with you. We can see a list of people that work with you here. Now, this shows how devoted and committed we are to the network. There are people who have sacrificed their time. They are overworking themselves. They have other responsibilities. But because they have taken this network to be a significant network and central to what we are doing for the continent and for the shaping of this continent, they are able to do all of these things. So we really want to thank you and the team that have worked with you to get this thing here. And let me encourage all of us to make effort to make sure that we return this survey. You know, just for the network to grow, just for people to be encouraged that when I give my time to work on something, it's going to be used, because it will get other people discouraged. You see, we have been encouraged by the project we did on public theology, the success it has made and is continuing to make. So if we continue to do things like that, that will help the network. So this is really just showing us that we love each other and we love the network. We will give our time to it because we recognize that this is our service to God. This is not just about you. It's about our way of reciprocating God's love for us. Would you also do that as a way of reciprocating God's love to you? So thank you very much. And now we have proposals, but let's go up for it.
Yes, we can. Colleagues, any questions on the IT?
Yeah.
Just quickly before we conclude the IT survey.
Yeah, can I just quickly, I don't think I need to share it. It's a very sort of low level survey in the sense that it's very much facts and figures based. You should be able to find all the information, but just a couple of things to encourage you to fill it in. It starts with asking you about electricity. Now, we're all, well, I can claim to be honorary African, I hope. So we're all African or honorary African, and load shedding or power cuts or whatever your local term for them is a fact of life. And it's a fact of life that really doesn't hit our supporters in the West. They don't understand, you know, so if we're trying to raise funds, you know, we need to really hit them with the reality of load shedding. In the UK last winter, so what, 8-9 months ago, there were what, 1,000 houses that went without power for 12 hours, and the head of the electricity company had to resign. That's that's how, you know, how different a world these people are living in. You know, so yeah, you might think, well, electricity is just, it comes when it comes and it goes when it goes, and no man can tell where it goes. but these are the sort of things that are important to.
The head that was fired.
It will only be 12 hours.
Yeah.
We would celebrate.
Yes. Yeah. So as I say, if you go through it, you'll see that it's all sort of facts and figures, but it's all designed so that you can, so that when we're helping you with what you need and putting together proposals for funding, then it is the information that donors are looking for, because donors, particularly those who have got grants to give away, they talk about SMART proposals, which has to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. And I heard the chair nod, so perhaps he can remember what T stands for, because I can't. But anyway, specific, measurable, achievable, time bound. Thank you. Yes, yes. So it's, yes, you think, oh, I can do something that is like sort of very good English and very sort of emotive. But these guys are very hard-headed. They're not interested in the emotive language. You know, they want to know what specifics you need and what specific value that money will be to your institution. So that's essentially what was in my mind when I was developing it. So it is, I don't think there's anything that requires more than a 2-word or 2 or 3 words, or the most you'll have to fill for any question is a sentence. I don't think there's anything that requires a paragraph. It's mostly information that you probably have to gather it from a couple of different places. Your registry department for the figures in terms of number of students, and your IT department if you do have computer labs, and then you have to do the sums as to how many PCs or how many students per PC you have, and so on. But it should be straightforward. It's all facts. And the other thing is, I should have said this earlier. One of the questions earlier was about the problems when there's a lack of internet. There's a charity in the UK called Evitabu, who actually send out these Kindles. They may not be Kindles, but they're another form of tablet. They preload them with basic theological textbooks and sort of standard theology books, and will send them out to anybody on request. So there's a link to them on the portal. So if you are in the situation where online may not work for you, then yeah, you can get in touch with them. Yeah, so there's a website, and I think I'm sure there's a phone number on the website if you want to actually speak to them rather than send an email or anything like that. Okay.
Questions to Fraser? Thank you, Chair. I think then we can conclude for the night. We have 2 resolutions of the 2 proposals there. The board urged members to complete the survey and participate in the survey, and the board approves the next stage of implementing the results from the surveys, as well as a project proposal to be subjected to the PCUSA for consideration. This proposal will be based on the needs that will arise from this in the second phase of the survey.
Thank you very much. I think we should bring the meeting to a close today.
Colleagues, we meet tomorrow morning. Meet up with your team for the devotions. Breakfast is the same time. Our 2 brothers from Mozambique is leaving us. They will be leaving. They will not be here tomorrow morning when the sun rises. So we thank them for being here, from Hefziba. So you need to say, when you greet them tonight, you need to say goodbye. You'll see them again in our next meeting. And I've asked Manasseh to end for us, Chair. When you're done, you can just ask him to conclude for us.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for participating fully today. I'm surprised that you are awake, after a full day of, business, traveling to Pretoria. By the way, Pretoria, University of Pretoria. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful, wonderful program. The other thing I want to say about that, from that your center now, will now link up to other parts of Africa. Instead of going back to the center there, let your center become the hub for us, where we can link up West, East, Central, and all of that. Because we have seen the potential and we need to develop it here. And thank you for what you have added. You have shown that we are not just taking it there. We have the ability to add something, to add value to it. So we really want to appreciate you for that.
And the food was amazing too.
Yes, delicious meal. So with this, we bring our meeting to a close, and again, thank our brothers for, participating, taking your time to come here in person. We deeply appreciate it. We wish you safety in travels. Manasseh is leading us in a closing prayer. So, thank you. He is one of the original members of NetACT. In Portuguese. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's pray. Pai Celestial, estamos gratos que chegamos esta noite, ao fim do encontro do dia de hoje. Obrigado que tivemos muitas tarefas a fazer. Obrigado pela proteção e tudo que fizeste. Obrigado por estarmos aqui juntos para falarmos do trabalho das nossas instituições, que somos membros da NetACT. Abençoa os nossos dirigentes, abençoa todos os participantes. Esta noite vamos descansar, pedimos a tua proteção e a bênção. Em nome de Jesus Cristo. Amém.
Amém.